On this hunt, we wrapped up a long deer season with a nice buck just before the holidays. We skinned a deer in about 60 seconds with a golf ball, and we made a mouth-watering venison Wellington. I'll show you how we did it.
I feel like I'm always forgetting something when I'm hunting with one of the kids. But this time I think I've got everything but the wallpaper.
This season, I spent the majority of what few days I was able to hunt in the woods with my oldest daughter. Sam is already a successful turkey hunter, but is still looking for her first really good chance at a whitetail buck.
That is the timber company down here clearing land. And they've been doing it way back at the back of this property. Where we're hunting today, well, I say they've been doing it. They've been setting up to do it way back at the back of this property. Today we're hunting near the back of this property. So I'm just hoping they haven't done too much to scare these deer off. Based on the camera and the pictures we got last night, I think we still got a really good chance because that buck was in there at the same time we're gonna be hunting. So if they haven't done too much yet, clearing timber out, we should be okay, I think. I hope.
We went over every possible scenario to make sure Sam was prepared if the opportunity presented itself. We definitely put in the time on this hunt and others, even hunted through inclement weather, but never got that chance at Sam's deer. Weeks later, still without a buck on the ground, I headed out to a different property in late afternoon. I had to hunt without Sam this particular day when schedules just couldn't align. Conditions were favorable, but it was late in the season and I was starting to feel the pressure of holidays approaching and too much empty space in the freezer. I'll apologize for the grainy picture in the forward camera. It struggles a bit as the light gets low. Fortunately, my 50mm scope does not. In the state where I was hunting, it is legal to use thermal equipment while deer hunting. I use a handheld thermal monocular to scan around thicker brush when light gets low. Still plenty of light to see through my scope, but not as easy for my weary eyes. And where it is legal, I prefer this because I can look around with less movement than swinging my gun around to look through my scope. It's also a bit safer than pointing your gun in every direction. This time, the thermal was no help. Just before I turned my body back to face forward, I cut my eyes back down the shooting lane and froze. There he was. This game of cat and mouse actually went on for about 5 minutes. When he would look down and away, I would move slowly. It went on so long, I started to worry he wasn't going to present an acceptable shot before I ran out of shooting light. This is a terrible angle. I need him to take a step inside the other. Stop. Thank you, Lord. I needed that in the worst way. I mean, it was getting down here. I had plenty of light in the scope, but I didn't even see him coming in. And I was looking down here in my shooting lane, nothing there. And started scanning off here to the left, and before I turned my head and looked back, I just cut my eyes back over there, and there I saw his head sticking out. So I froze right then. And then slowly worked my way back around. And apparently, I think I made a good shot. He went straight to the ground. I'm grateful for that. I am just over the moon excited right now. I'm anxious to get down here and see this deer. I'm really fortunate he went straight down. I feel like I made a good shot. I had plenty of light. I'm excited. I want to get down here and check him out. But I'm telling you, you ever get to a point where you just feel like absolutely nothing's going right? God is good. In a hole. 8-point, beautiful deer. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm excited. Excited to have him. Get him tagged so he's nice and legal. Get out of here and start processing. Hey.
Hey. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah. That was a long time in coming.
Yay! What a good day for it to happen.
Victory dance. A little celebratory meal before I start to process this deer. This doesn't look like much, but when you know, you know. Dinner of Champions. We are sitting on a field of victory, enjoying a few well-earned comforts. Movie trivia. I'm gonna crack out here if I don't get some company before too long. I wish the kids had been there with me, or that one of them had gotten this deer. They'll be here in a minute though.
He's very interested.
Learn that smell. Go find some more. So we're gonna get this guy strung up here, and we'll show you how to do this golf ball trick and skin this deer in a matter of seconds. I mean, it's just like pulling off a sock.
You don't just want to like He-Man pull that off like Naked and Afraid, just real manly. I'd rather.
This isn't manly enough for you?
No, I'm saying he's written
You're gonna have to find someone else then, Afton.
How we go Naked and Afraid and find someone there. Rip the fur off.
Why don't you do it manly next time?
Why don't we make
Wimp.
Mom? I just want to see He-Man it off. Hi, Pepper.
Stay tuned.
This is the easiest way that I know of to skin a deer. And if you do it quickly after the harvest, you don't have to field dress the deer before you process it. I'll put a link in this video's description to a step-by-step tutorial that we did that shows you exactly how to do this. And trust me, it could not be easier. With that done, we just start cutting meat off. That's simple. All right, so we're gonna cook a venison Wellington. This is an adaptation of a traditional beef Wellington that's just absolutely delicious. We've done these before. We usually do them around the holidays. It's kind of becoming a tradition around our house. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is just season your meat. And I've got one of the back straps out of that deer that we just harvested. Can't wait to do this again. We're just gonna season it on both sides, lightly with salt and pepper. You don't have to overpower it with your salt and pepper or any seasoning, because the meat in this recipe is really gonna speak for itself. So we're just gonna do this real quick. And that's about all it needs. From here, the next step is we're gonna sear this meat in a cast iron pan, get it as hot as we can with peanut oil because of its high smoke point. Let me get this pan hot. Still rocking the Dad's Grilling Buddy 2017, Brian's little craft from school. It's a little bit worse for wear. It's been burned a few times, as have I. We're just gonna put this thin layer of peanut oil in here and get that thing just as hot as it will go. I probably want this pan.
Peppy on guard.
Not on my watch. Not up in here. Not up in here.
Get him. Get him.
Peppy says, I'm gonna get him.
Who are you getting, Peppy?
Here we go. I think this oil is gonna be hot enough, and we want it to just start searing as soon as it hits the pan. Nope, nope. I think it could go hotter. Little tip here. You wanna use the side of the pan to puddle that oil up and help you brown the sides of the meat at the same time as you're browning the bottom of it. The goal here is to sear this on the outside without it having time to cook all the way through or start to cook into the meat. So you're gonna want this pan just as hot as you can go. All right, this next part, very, very important. Take that meat off to rest. While that meat is resting and starting to cool back down, it's going to start to sort of absorb its own juices back into the meat. While it's doing that, kind of in that absorption mode, we're gonna go ahead and take some of this stone ground mustard and just brush this onto this meat on all sides. Again, doing this while it's hot is gonna help that soak in, help get a lot of that flavor into this meat. You can do this with English mustard, spicy mustard. We like this PS Seasoning Beer Hall Stone Ground mustard. Got just enough kick to it and a lot of flavor. Goes well with this venison. I'll give you guys a link to PS Seasoning where you can find this mustard and all kind of good seasonings that work well with your wild game down in the description. And I'll give you a discount code because it's the holidays, but it'll work year round. Same principle applies. While this meat is hot, we're gonna come back and hit it again with a little bit of salt and pepper on all sides. All right, while the meat is resting, we're just gonna come back and start preparing the filling for the inside of this Wellington. And we're gonna use 24 ounces of these cremini?
Crimini? Criminian?
I know how to fix them. I don't know how to say it.
and mix these. And we're just gonna mix these until they're really, really finely chopped. And then to that, we're just gonna add about 4 cloves of garlic, a couple of handfuls of pecans. Now this is actually a substitute. I'd rather be doing this with chestnuts, but for whatever reason, can't find any right now. Pecans will work just fine. Add a little bit more salt and pepper. Cover and mix this again. You would just be amazed how much water is actually in these mushrooms. Now I'll give you a better look at this in a second, but look how when you blend these or chop them, they just turn into this little paste. And so you're just gonna drop these into a pan, a dry pan on medium-high heat, and we're just gonna cook the moisture out of these until we move on to the next step. So now you can see you're starting to get this kind of charred residue in the pan here a little bit. I don't see any water bubbling in these mushrooms anymore, so I think they're pretty much dried out. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these from the heat and add our thyme and let these cool off a little bit. All right, so while the mushrooms are cooling off, we're just gonna go ahead and spread some plastic wrap over the countertop and then overlap some pieces of Parma ham, and this is what we're gonna wrap around our backstrap. I mean, just look how thin it comes off there. So now we're just gonna come back, place our tenderloin right into the center here. And then we're just gonna use this plastic wrap to tight roll around this meat. Now I'm just gonna tight roll this in the plastic. I want this as tight as I can get it to go because I'm trying to give it a cylindrical shape. Cut some of this excess plastic off. I want it as tight as I can get it. So we got that nice shape. It's gonna go well inside the pastry. We're gonna put this in the fridge and chill this for 15 or 20 minutes. All right, while that's all resting, we're gonna need to scramble 3 egg yolks for the outside of our puff pastry. And we're gonna play a game here called Can You Believe the Internet? Supposedly, and I've seen this going around online, if I crack an egg into this bowl and then you coat your fingers with a little bit of garlic, I should be able to just pick up that egg yolk right out of the center here without breaking it. Okay, well there's my egg yolk. What sorcery is this? Alakadabra, alakazam.
Oh, hallelujah.
One more round of plastic wrap. Let's work on our puff pastry. We're gonna use one of these crescent dough sheets, not the kind that are perforated into those triangles so that you can make those crescent rolls, but we just want one continuous sheet. Here we go. I'm gonna stretch this until it's big enough to cover the whole of that backstrap. So I'm concerned about the thickness of this puff pastry. You see these thin spots right here? And I don't want those to break or we don't have the Wellington fully covered. So I'm gonna use a second one just right over the top. Here we go. Meat's been chilling. It's got a nice shape to it. Let's go ahead and take this out. Lay this right into the puff pastry. This is important. Before, with the Parma ham and the mushrooms, I rolled it and kind of just doubled it up as much as I had ham and mushrooms. I only want to roll this over once. I don't want to double up the pastry again. So I'm just going to roll this over until the pastry touches itself on the other side. We'll stop and then cut it with the back side of a knife. I'm going to just twist and join this end. Go ahead and remove the extra dough. Okay. Leaving myself enough to twist this, kind of knead it up on the ends, just like that. Now I'm going to wrap this back up in the plastic and let it chill for another 15 or so minutes. And again, I'm just doing this as tight as I can
just to preserve that kind of cylindrical shape. Back in the fridge, another 15 minutes. All right, this has been chilling. So we're in the home stretch here. Take this guy out. Go ahead and unwrap this. Ooh, looking good. Couldn't be happier. We're gonna take those scrambled egg yolks and just cover the outside of this all over. It's just gonna give us that golden brown color on this puff pastry, which is what we're looking for. Just gonna take the back side of our knife, which fortunately has a nice thick sort of back to it. It's not gonna cut through this pastry. And I'm just gonna pick this thing up. Let's see if I can do this real quick where I can show you non-stick foil my foot. We're just gonna score this right down the center. Gonna put a line right down there, and I'm just gonna roll my knife just like this, all the way down these sides. As this puff pastry rises, it's gonna give us some nice angles or some nice lines on there. Last step before we throw this in to cook, just a little bit of salt right on the outside here. Good to go. So I'm gonna throw this in here on 225 degrees. Venison is very lean, you don't wanna overcook it. 225 degrees for 25 minutes. And then after that, probably another 5 minutes on 275 or so to make sure it cooks evenly throughout and you get that nice brown color on the outside of the pastry that we're looking for. All right, so our 25 minutes is done. So I'm gonna ratchet this up. I said 275. I think I'm gonna go 300. Benefit of experience here. I think it needs a little bit more. So I'm gonna go 300 for 5 minutes, golden brown. All set. Now, this wasn't looking, oh, it's looking good now. This wasn't looking done, and so we added another couple of minutes. So all told, I think we went 25 minutes at 225 and then another 15 to 16 minutes at 300 degrees. But looking golden brown now and absolutely delicious. Look at that. Telling you what, I'm gonna figure out how I can get this thing out of that basket. Moment of truth. Let's see how we did, all right? Labor of love here. I hope it wasn't wasted. Let's see, we're gonna start out about right here, okay? See how we did. Ooh! It is very rare. I'm gonna throw it back in that oven. How is it still so rare? Well, a couple of minutes on 350 will do it. She's brown now, looking like a pretzel. Pretzel at a ball game. Well, those things look good. Look how much better these look now on the ends. That's bizarre to me. I cooked them longer at a higher temperature this time than I did the first time around that I made them. And they still turned out just as rare. Go figure. Maybe it was doubling up on that puff pastry, which it needed. Okay, let's go ahead and cut into this thing a second time. Let's see how it's looking. Well, the venison's looking nicely cooked. My pastry's coming apart though. But it's crispy and delicious, I know that. The mushroom filling's good. Let me get a fork. Son. I'm telling you what, that mushroom goes so well with this venison. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do that more often. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time. God bless you.